Welcome back. Now we go back to Abuja, where Chief Norik is telling us about technicalities. You say that lawyers feast on and judges don't seem to be able to stop them. But I'm just thinking, is it about lawyers feasting on it, or the laws of the land where there's a lot of loopholes that lawyers can feast on, and then there's nothing that the judges can really do?
No, it's not a matter of the judges being unable to do something about it. In the story that I was telling before the interval, it took the second journey to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to ask these lawyers one simple question. If you did not see the writ of summons, on what did you proceed to file pleadings? My question is, why didn't the High Court judge ask this question in that particular circumstance? So my case, my recommendation for judicial review is that it should start by the Chief Justice of Nigeria making a practice direction that on no account should a judicial proceeding be determined solely on a technical issue. Yes, you can point out that there have been a procedural breach, a technical breach of procedure. But that should not be the sole reason for delivering a verdict. Because we cannot be slaves to rules. The rules are there to guide us and not lord over us. It is the failure of the judges to recognize this, even though they say it every day. But to put it in practice, they lack the will to do so. And I say that the reason they have those who do it, because again, I know I am generalizing, there are exceptions. But my case is that the majority is in default. Most of the judges latch on technicalities in order to free themselves from the rigors required to do justice. They want the matter adjourned, and then they blame the counsel for it over a technical issue. And then they kill a particular case just because somewhere along the line there was a technical breach. We cannot achieve any speedy dispensation of justice when we approach issues that way. That is my case.
Okay, Mr. Nigeria.
Actually, just to add to what you have said, and perhaps elucidate a little further, there are plethora of cases decided at the Supreme Court level that deprecate technicalities, urging the courts and, of course, judges to do substantive justice. But if there is no, like in the rules of court, these technicalities are always there. There are some loopholes a lawyer that is experienced can use. And even with the intervention of a judge, say, I do not allow this. A lawyer who is intent on delaying the process will go on appeal. It will take up to Supreme Court to tell him, this is not right. Then he'll come back. You understand? But if the rules say, if this particular kind of position arises, the matter should go on even at the lower court, then the guy knows that he will lose out if he continues to pursue that angle. And that was this ACJ was trying to do to a certain extent. But being operated now, everybody is also now seeing that there are still gaps that need to be, closed. So I think ultimately it is the law reform, so that the rules of court are made by the Chief Judge or Chief Justice of the Federation or the President of the Court of Appeal in conjunction with other members of a committee that are called up for that. But practice direction are done by those heads of court. But once the rules of court are tighter, if they are tighter, the lawyers, like in Lagos, you will hardly find a very lazy lawyer in Lagos, a practicing lazy lawyer. I'm not saying you will not find such, but if any lawyer that is practicing at the High Court in Lagos must be very diligent, because the rules are tighter, even though it could be tightened more, and the judges are more astute. It's unlike outside Lagos where you can, in those days, if you file something, you go to London and have, but the man you are suing said, I have a matter, but you have not filed any pleading. So all those things have been put away, and you now have front loading. So before you take Mr. A to court, you have a clear idea of what you want to do with Mr. A.
How did this happen in Lagos? What was done in Lagos that cannot be done on the federal stage?
To say the truth now, many of the states are now under the uniform rule. They have copied a few things, and even the ACJ is almost a replica of Lagos Administration of Justice law in Lagos. Lagos has always set the pace when it comes to judicial, law reforms. And you saw that a few weeks ago, if not days, there was also a conference on how to even move a little bit more further, and make justice available to everybody, because it's a very expensive process now.
Okay, some people have said that what if there's the introduction of significant costs and punishment for delays of, maybe lawyers who are ill prepared or who just, latch on technicalities to just stall the case. How do you think this can be achieved?
The judicial process is not a money-making venture. The end is justice. So the best thing is to prevent it through law reform. Don't kill. Don't even give room that you were provoked, because you will always find defense. As it is today, somebody will see Jeremiah. I don't like you. He told Jeremiah before everybody, I don't like you, I will kill you. Then Jeremiah, because he's not a wood, say, if you try that with me, I will deal with you. Then he say he has been provoked in the head of Jeremiah. Then he comes to court, up to Supreme Court. He will be singing the song of provocation. Because, excuse me, there is some kind of room for him to play around with that kind of defense. I don't know whether you get the point. So if there is a strict liability in a certain area of law that is known to have been thoroughly abused in the judicial process, I believe the lawyers will, like for example, you can't go to court in Lagos, and in fact there are many other states now, without front-loading your pleadings. So the question of coming to court because you want to hang the man, waiting and trying to imagine what case you have against him has gone because of that law reform.
Chief Naruka, there are councils, there are institutions that have been set up to monitor what goes on in the judiciary, how the judges are carrying on with their activities, with their procedures. Are those institutions effectively doing what they're supposed to do? Can those institutions be depended on to help in reshaping our judiciary?
And they are not, and I venture to say they are indeed moribund, deliberately moribund, because of the effect of corruption in our system. To start with, the wrong people get appointed into these monitoring groups. They have an ulterior, an entirely different motive for getting there. So they do not do the monitoring that they are supposed to do. I tell you, the only way you can monitor the system is to empower the individual to act according to his own conscience and in keeping with generally accepted modus for doing things. The moment you allow one pillar of the administration of justice to be so powerful and so and able to hold the other in subjugation, you are only going to have the situation that enables judges to finish their day's work and go home, enjoying the euphoria of the sound of "as the court pleases," which they hear every day in court. Because lawyers have become so docile, it's now, as it were, a crime to confront a judge. You can no longer tell a judge, "My lord, you're wrong, the law is different. I can tell you a Supreme Court authority that contradicts your position." If you say that, you are rude to the judge, and when the judge tells you, "sit down," the entire lawyers in the bar will chorus, "as the court pleases." So the problem, let me get back to the issue of saying that you want to punish by imposing fines. That's not the solution. The rules are as tight as they can be already. It is the individual. It is the individual. And if we do not reform our minds and reform the personalities that happen to be judges in this country, again, I make exception for the few that are good. If you do not take time to ensure that whoever gets there has the proper temperament and the proper education and learning, you can never achieve any effective reform.
Okay, let me put this in.
That is my position.
Let me put this in real quick.
We are going through the decadence we are going through today.